This video is an extract from an interview where an art professional shares their top tips for artists. Thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoy this video. Welcome to this talk with Mervyn Metcalf. Mervyn is passionate about supporting emerging talent with works across all mediums and styles, including painting, photo, sculpture, and particularly a focus on works by up-and-coming portrait artists. Mervyn is a banker by trade. He was a selector on one of the exhibitions we're very proud to work on, which is the ING Discerning Eye Exhibition in 2020, and has since become a board member for the Discerning Eye charity.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever you're watching this. Just background, I have been a banker for almost 30 years. I help people buy and sell companies for a living, and I've been an art collector for over 25 years, probably longer than that, and interested in art long before that. I'd say it's a passion and an addiction now, sadly, because I've got to the point where I no longer have wall space anywhere.
Can you tell us a bit about how you built your collection and maybe any themes or artists that you're interested in?
So I think my tastes have definitely matured and come clearer as I've got older and I guess experience maybe at collecting. For me, I think as a collector, I only buy stuff I like. I don't buy for value. I don't buy as an investment. I literally buy stuff I like. And anyone I ever speak to in terms of they're looking at buying something, the only question that matters is, do you like that piece of art? And do you want to have it in your collection, on your wall, give it as a gift, whatever it might be. So that has always been my central theme in terms of buying any art. I think as you collect longer, and as you change your views in life or whatever it might be, I think what you like might change. And I think you get more bold and more open to buy stuff, be more adventurous, so we say, in terms of what you might buy. For me, the central theme has always been buy stuff you like. And I think the art world has changed positively over the last years. And if you go back to when I first started collecting, I had a little gallery that I knew the owner there and helped get the style as to what they were exhibiting. And there were a few art exhibitions, but there are clearly a lot more now in the world, which I think makes it better for both the artists and the collector, for the collector to see art and the artist to meet or get their work out to collectors. I personally think I still don't massively like going to a gallery, walking off the street, walking into a gallery, because, it can be, again, somewhat intimidating. Someone sat there on the Apple laptop and aren't necessarily engaging with the customer or collector. Whereas an art fair or whatever it might be is much more fun. Everyone's there to look at stuff. They've come with a view that they might buy something, and that's how the art world has progressed. And I think online has been a massive win in terms of collecting. In the old days, if you saw something, you knew nothing about the artist, you knew nothing about how their career was developing. Now you can follow the artist, you can see what they've made in the past, you can see what other people like, and it just opens up a whole new world. It's become a lot easier as a collector to see stuff and to get stimulus in terms of new stuff you like. And I think equally for artists, I think it's a much better environment.
Do you think you could show us a few works?
I can talk you through some. I've got some stuff here actually, which is quite indicative-ish. So I'll start with this one because it's Discerning Eye. So this was last year's winner from the Discerning Eye by Alison Spear. Well, as a winner, in fact, because I have a collector's prize. And this one is particularly cool because one of the selectors this year was Grinda Chadha, who was the director of Bend It Like Beckham, and that was in her collection. And obviously, we just won the European Football Club, so it was quite cool. So it's very of the moment. This is a new piece I bought, and I've collected this artist called Connie Stewart. So what she does, she takes old photos, I don't know whether you can quite see, and then she embroiders around it. Now this, I think, is a good element of where some artists need to think carefully about how they promote their work. When I tried to find her Instagram, it's a really weird one. It's 404_Connie, which good luck finding that on a random search. So an artist like Connie, who's young, I think she does a really cool work. But as an artist, I think my top tip to everyone is have an Instagram that you can find your work, because it's so important. And I know Instagram is good and bad, but ultimately it is a visual medium, and it's a great way to promote artists, your work, and I highly recommend have an Instagram account and have one that you can find.
Yes. So first top tip being whatever you use as your artist name, whether it's actually your legal name or a pseudonym, keep it the same everywhere, on your website, on exhibition, framing, labels, as well as your Instagram. And remember, people can search you via your username as well as the thing that Instagram calls your name. So you could be Mervyn Metcalf art collector, or You'll notice on Instagram we're Parker Harris Art Consulting, because people can search for keywords too. So that's for, and I think we'll probably go into Instagram and marketing as we go along.
So one of the things that I'm really passionate about is that if I collect an artist, I like to collect into their work, over time and in depth. So there's one artist I collect, a guy called Stuart Sanford, who I bought initially, I'd say 15 plus 20 years ago, maybe a long time ago. And since then, he's worked and lived and worked in LA and Mexico, back in London. He's from the north. So he's lived around all the world, but I managed to connect with him through his Instagram, and obviously we're friends now. So this is one of his pieces. He's quite a cool artist. He does sculpture, painting, and he also does Polaroid work. So he's got 2 different Polaroids and he's spliced them to create a statue work. And then what I like to do when I buy something that's not framed is make an effort to have it framed in a way that's quite cool. So in this case, you'll see I picked a blue frame, and then we've changed the screw colors to pick up the red and the blue in the work. As a collector, one of the things I love doing is framing and being creative around the frame of the work. I tend to use Derbyshire, who are really good, but Jealous Gallery also pretty good and slightly more affordable. But a work of art is one thing, but again, this was just a postcard, and then a Jealous frame this, but you can, the right backing, it just stands out.
That's interesting, because oftentimes a collector might fall in love with a work but not be fond of the current frame it's living in. Would a frame ever hinder you from purchasing a work, or thinking you really have to look a lot harder to...
Not for me, because, well, that sounds arrogant. No, I think you should always buy the work because of the work, but I think you can set off a piece of art if you really think about the framing is as important in my mind. It's a frame for your work. So think about how it sets off the work and how it can look better with a frame. What else have I got? In fact, this has just arrived today. This is by Chris Mitten.
Oh,
Statue, which I think is quite cool.
yeah.
Piece. And then in the back, you'll see some of the work on that wall. So that's an artist called Andrej Dubrovsky, who lives in Slovakia. So he's an artist I came across via a New York artist, and then I followed his work and then reached out to him and said, I like what you're doing. And what he did, which I think is super important, another top tip, is that he would never sell me work directly. He would, because he has gallery representation, and so he only ever sold through his gallery. And I've ultimately bought quite a few of his works, and actually visited him in Slovakia last year, which was cool because I always like to meet the artists I collect. So he was one of the last ones I hadn't met. But even though I bought one there, again, it was through the gallery. And I think that's, as a collector, it gives me confidence that he's not going to fill the market with stuff that he's selling off the back of a lorry. His work's going to the right collectors, and the pricing is staying important. And again, that's not saying I buy art for investment, but I think it's important that if you are going to spend an amount on art, that the price is somewhat supported.
No, it's nice to know that something that you own and cherish actually has value as well. And one of the things that we touch on the program is all about the process. So for people who have galleries, being very clear on what that arrangement is, whether it's an exclusive arrangement, in which case it can only be sold via the gallery, or whether it's on certain types of works. And regardless of if you have a gallery or not, are you selling through the website? What's the price? How are you factoring in commissions for other exhibition opportunities, and all that making sense so that your collectors and buyers can have the confidence that there is one process and they know what it is. So one of the very, very big questions, Mervyn, is how do you find and discover new artists or new artworks?
So I'd probably say it's a mix. I think Instagram is important. Look, Instagram I think is not as good as it used to be. It's now trying to be TikTok, and who knows what they're doing with their new thing. So it's not as good as it was, but it's still probably the best thing out there in terms of a visual medium. I think if you were, just as an FYI, if you do run an art Instagram, just make sure it focuses on your art. No one really wants to see you and your baby, your kids and whatever else. So have a professional Instagram account, because that's your sort of record of your work. And I think make it easy for people to see what you're doing. But on that note, show behind the scenes what's inspiring you, I think is also similarly good, but it's around the art. I think if you are an artist and like other artists, then share their work on occasion on your own account, because that's how I met Andrej, through a New York artist, and he's in Slovakia. So there's no way in the old world I'd have ever come across his work. If you like someone's work, put it out there, because you know what? If someone's following you, they may well like the same type of work that you like because they're buying your work or following your work. I think art fairs are, I think, good. There's a bunch of stuff a bunch of art fairs that are interesting. There's the Art Car Boot Fair, which is Artist Direct, which is quite a fun way to... I love it as a collector because you can meet artists and see them directly, but so it's quite good to partake in that. Things like Discerning Eye, again, plugging Discerning Eye, I think is a great way to get your art out there. And as I said, as I've said in this already, there's a bunch of artists I've bought through Discerning Eye itself, because you've got an open call for artists and you get hung with artists selected, maybe established artists in the Moore Gallery, and I highly recommend it. So if you haven't entered it, have a look at it for this year, because we hopefully will have some really good selectors, and it's a good way to get your art out there. Look, I said art fairs, not everyone has a gallery, so it's tough. So look, I think primary, I'd just say have a good Instagram and put your work there and try and have a good messaging around it.
Thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch the full 1-hour interview and get top tips from an expert, then click the link below and join the Art Ladder mentoring program now. By joining the Art Ladder, you will get access to our full library of webinars with curators, collectors, critics, gallerists, and more. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this, and check out the description below for more free resources for artists.